All right, good day, gents, and welcome to another episode of Father's Fire. My name's Jody Cedric, enjoying a beautiful fall day here in Idaho. You can't tell it by my background with that summer ocean breeze feels because I always want to be at the ocean. But today I get to be with you, and I'm super, super excited because I have another guest, another dad who's trying to have an impact on his family and the world through fun on TikTok. But before I get into that, I want to remind you that we're part of the Speak Fire family. So make sure you check out the rest of the crew because we're all invested in helping you be the best version of you. And of course, Rethinking Rich is always a mad supporter of Father's Fire. So without further ado, good day to you and welcome to my guest, Ben Borden. He and I connected on TikTok, as I said. So good morning. I'm super, super excited to have you.
Hey, how's it going, Jerry? How are you, sir?
You know, I'm actually doing great. I just had a nice weekend escape. My wife works for Alaska Airlines, and so we can kind of take these impromptu trips. And so we took my daughter and went to LA for a day at the beach, which is kind of weird. You know, it's like, hey, let's just pack up a lunch and hop on a plane and go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it makes it for a lot of fun days. So, well, thank you so much for joining me. I mean, you have a phenomenal TikTok channel. I love it because your hashtag, and this is what originally attracted me to you is it's the dad journey, correct?
Yep, the dad journey. Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because that's really kind of the impetus of Father's Fire is sharing stories of other men who are trying to be great dads. And it truly is a journey. It's an adventure. It's got all kind of unforeseens and unexpecteds and also a lot of fun. So how did you come up with the dad journey as your TikTok?
So I kind of started, so originally, funny story, I actually was going to start this Instagram page called The Dad Journey, and I wanted to basically, and I actually had the Dad Journey name all picked out and everything. And so at first I was going to just kind of start this Instagram page of like kind of what fatherhood looked like, but also like giving tips on working out and what products that dads can use. And because some dads are on a budget. So I was going to say, here's some stuff that I've bought, for like my gym time or for work time or whatever the case may be. Or here's some life hacks coming from a dad's point of view. Or here's some workouts when you're in a pinch because, your kids have soccer practice or they've got dance. And what do you do for a workout? Or, what about cooking? Like just that was kind of my thought behind it. And then I kind of got rid of it and didn't do anything with it. And then I found TikTok and I was like, well, I'm going to bring the dad journey back and see if there's a place, for dads out there. And sure enough, there's a huge group of dads out there, which is awesome. So I kind of went with it and ran with it.
Yeah, it's been really fun because actually the majority of the men that I've interviewed this summer have been men on TikTok that have just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to share my experience being a dad. And some of them are really funny. Some of them are tragic, but it really, it's just been a lot of fun because, actually my first, as you and I were talking about before we got on, is my first viral video was me recording my daughter, doing, her graduation pictures wakeboarding behind the boat. Actually, that was my second one. My first one was actually me recording my wife's lumpia and pancit for Christmas dinner. So it's just kind of funny what takes off and what doesn't. So you are the dad of 3 kids. So you've been married 10 years, and you're at that you're kind of at that early stage. Your youngest is 13 months. Your oldest is 9. Yep. So what has surprised you most about being the dad of 3?
Honestly, how as not only men, but how as human beings, we are able to adapt to change so quickly. And the reason why I say that is when I found out that when my wife and I when she was pregnant with our first. I was 26, I believe, and she was 20. And no, she was 21. I was 27, and we were freaking out, and we were like, "Oh my goodness!" And I was hysterical, not in a good way. I was freaking out. I was scared. I was terrified. We were living in this little bitty 2-bedroom apartment, and we were. I'll be honest, we were barely making ends meet, and it's crazy because when you find out that you're going to be a father, it's like a switch gets flipped on inside you, and it's like, okay, I've got to step up and be a man. And my wife and I talk about it all the time, but in 10 years we've gone through not having really much of anything at all to being able to, we own a house, we have 2 cars, one of our cars is paid off, so I mean, we have a van, we're able to afford things now. Like, it's great. What surprises me the most is how I was able to just adapt to change, and how our human body is just, and our psychic is just like, okay, it's like when you get thrown into the fire, it's like, you're either going to burn or you're going to survive. You're going to try to find something to survive. And I was able to survive. I'm able, and that's what's been crazy is that, you just never know. And I'll be honest, like I said, when I first found out that I was having a kid, oh my goodness, man, I was terrified. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. It's like, there's no way. And now I have 3, and I'm like, how am I able to still do that? Like, it comes easy now. It's just 3 kids,
Yeah, when 4 comes, you're going, that's fine.
I know. And then you with 6, I'm just like, because my wife wants 4, and so she wants 1 more, and I'm just like, I don't. How are we gonna do? Like, I mean, I guess we're making it with 3, but
you know what? 1 more, really. After 2, it doesn't make that big a difference.
That, you know what? And that's what they tell you. They say, once you hit after 2, once you get that 3rd, like if you have 4, 5, and 6, like you really don't notice anything. Like going from 1 to 2 is the hardest, but after you've had 2, like going from 2 to 3, they said was pretty easy. And I'll be honest, having 3 kids actually has been a lot easier. It has not been that difficult at all. It's just another little bitty. So give you a little bit about so I have 2 girls now. So my youngest is a girl, and my middle child is a girl. So that's interesting.
Yeah, but, especially with them, they're 8 years apart. So
yeah,
your daughter's 16, your youngest is going to be 8, and yeah, that 15 and 7 age difference. Woo! I don't envy you, because there's going to be some dynamics in that house.
Well, yeah, and so my oldest is my boy. He's 9, and then we have a 4-year-old. Oh. Yeah, we have a 4-year. So there's only 4-year difference, which isn't too bad. But our middle child, she is very headstrong, and so.
Dude, get ready, man. When she's 13 and the youngest one is 9, whoo, there's going to be some crazy girl dynamics going on in your house.
See, and that's when we were talking earlier about, you said that, almost all your kids are out of your house now. That's the next part of this journey, right? Is like, I've made it through the not having kids to having a kid, having 3 kids, and having, young kids. But now I'm just like, I guess I'm looking forward to, but I'm also like a little bit unsure and a little bit nervous, because I'm like, how are the teenage years going to be? Like, how am I, so I may have to hit you up when we hit that 13-year-old.
Give me a shout, man. Give me a shout. I mean, and it really is a moving target. And that's part of why I love the name of your channel, because it really is a journey. I mean, every phase. I remember them, when they were really little, and I'm like, oh man, this little baby's entrusting me to take care of it, and that had a lot of confidence, because I'm the oldest of 8. But I still, in the back of my head, I'm like, this guy's trusting me.
Yeah.
And you talk about stepping up, and because I'm like you, we didn't have our first kid till I was 27, and I was in college. And so, because I went to college later, so I was working midnight to 8, we had a baby, and it just, and going to school full time. And I mean, it was just a crazy dynamic. And then the second son came, and then the third, and then you start moving into those teenage years. And our teenage years were really, really dynamic because we had very active kids. My Devin was a singer, Christian, they all did sports. Christian was in cross country, and then we had basketball, and we had soccer, and we had, I mean, it just was nonstop. Even when they were your kids' age, all of our kids were playing sports. So it was like, all right, where are we taking the kids? All right, you're going that way, I'm going this way, and we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, we actually just had a conversation about that because my son plays competitive soccer, and so he's on a traveling team. And so it's crazy because at a young age, they're like little athletes. So not only do they have regular soccer practice, but they also have like a dedicated what's called SAFT. And what it is it has nothing to do with soccer. It's all conditioning, endurance, and weightlifting and stuff for like 9-year-olds. And so my wife was like, okay, our middle child, Andy, she has dance on Tuesday. And so I'm going to have to take Cam over to his. And so we were just saying, okay, you're going to go to dance with her, and then I'm going to take him to soccer. So yeah, it's crazy.
And it creates a real dynamic for you and your wife, right? Because not only are you now managing all of these littles, but you're also trying to figure out how to manage you and your relationship, right? And still make time for yourselves. Yep. And make sure you're still pursuing her the way you did, when there weren't any kids, which makes it really fun.
It's you brought up a really good point there. I mean, it can be difficult to manage that. So it's one of those things where we try to set regular date nights with each other. We even if it's just when the kids go to bed, just putting on The Office and popping some popcorn and watching an episode of The Office, like just spending that time. Or, and this is going to sound crazy, because now I have over 1,000 followers, I can go live on TikTok. Even if it's just me going live, and she helps me with my live. So she's the one who's always playing the music, and she loves to interject some of her 2 cents, which is hilarious because she's kind of the comedic part of it. Even if it's just that, it's just that time to get to bond and laugh with one another. So, we don't take those little moments for granted anymore, because like you said, we are busy with 3 kids, and you can imagine, like,
oh yeah,
it's just so busy. So you just kind of got to find those little bitty pockets of time to spend with your significant other, like you said, because you want to maintain that. Because the way I've always, my wife can always thought is, if our relationship isn't good and if we're not connecting as one, then we can't run our household well.
Right.
And so it's just like a business. If the CEO is not doing well and he's not in the right state of mind, then it kind of has this trickle down effect, right? And it trickles down to, the managers, and then the handlers, and then it keeps trickling down. And so we just have this philosophy, like, we just need to make sure that we're on the same page with one another, and so that we can run our house the way it needs to be ran. So
yeah, and the thing that's fun with you guys, I mean, you guys, more and more I'm seeing her on your TikToks, right? And whether it's TikTok, or you as a couple are working out, or you're taking walks, or you're reading books, it doesn't matter. The key is that you're taking time for each other, and you're building that relationship, maintaining that relationship, because that relationship is so critical to the overall, emotional and spiritual well-being of your family. And so it's really critical. I mean, because the only thing that I've done so far live on TikTok has been either going by myself or with my wife when we work out on Saturdays, and just people watching us, and I'll do little motivational things in between, right? But it's still, I've been like, I really should have Judy and I just go live on a Friday night for 30 minutes, right? Because she's such a big part of our dynamic as a family, like your wife is, right? I mean, she's all spit and fire and like some,
and that's how my wife is. Like, she's an introvert, but like when we go live, she's behind the camera and nobody can see her, but man, she can really she can send out some zingers and really, make some really funny jokes, and we just play off of each other, which is nice. And so it makes the live very entertaining. It keeps people engaged, which is, if you know anything about TikTok live, like it's kind of hard to keep people engaged because they're,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so it's not like this where you can see one another and like
Yeah.
have a conversation and there's a topic, right? You're relying on your skills as a person to keep 30 or 40 or how many ever followers, because again, I'm no Scott D. Henry, I'm not a JT Lipper, but so I'm relying on my skills of just being entertaining to keep 30 or so followers in the chat. And again, that's the tough thing, they're chatting, they're not actually getting to talk. Yeah, or Ed dudes.
Well, the Sharpie smolder.
Yeah. I think you can pull it off. I think you can pull it off. It's funny because my wife always says, I don't get why he's so appealing. Why does everybody find he literally just sits there and he has 1,000 likes? I think you got it down.
It's because, it's the hair, it's the smolder, it's the eyes.
Yep.
It's just, some people just exude cool, right? And he
he does.
Cool. Scott D. Henry just exudes fun, just like you and your wife together exude fun, right? And it's like you can see, like I've really tried to, with my TikTok channel, really highlight what's fun about being a dad. So you see a lot of, my kids in there, or me and my wife, and it's really, that's my whole purpose. I just want people to go, you know what? Being a dad is cool. And I'm going to invest everything I can into my wife. I'm going to invest everything I can into our relationship. And I'm going to invest everything into my kids. And it's kind of funny because you talk about that journey. And now I'm at the journey where my oldest is 27. He's off. He's pursuing acting and modeling. And it's really fun to talk to him about the creative process. And so now he's coming to me with a whole industry that I didn't know anything about. And then my second son, he's like an ultra smart chemist, gonna be a doctor. And he goes off on things, and I'm like, dude, you lost me when you said chemistry. Right, but so now I'm at this new phase of the journey where it's like now I'm seeing my kids really evolve into these amazing adults, right? And so you still have that child's father relationship, but now they're teaching you things that it's like, and exposing you to things that you've never even dreamt of or thought of, and that's their passion. So it's been really fun to kind of move into this phase of the journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, it really is.
So go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, you're fine. That's what I was just gonna say. It really is, and it's really cool. Just to, like you were putting it, we're all in a different phase of our journey, right? I'm just in the I would say not the middle, but I'm getting close to the middle phase where you're kind of getting just out of the middle phase, and now you're into this where all your kids are grown up and they're doing their own things. And right now that frightens me because I'm just like, oh man, I'm in the phase of I want to get my kids through school, and with all this online learning with my son, like we're dealing with that. And so, we're just trying to get him through school. And, I'm in the phase of how can I make him become the best, that he can be, so that when I reach the phase that you're at, where one of your sons is acting and another one is going to be a doctor, like that's what I'm doing right now, is trying to get him to that point. So when he gets to that age, he's like, all right, this is what I'm going to be doing with my life. So it's really cool to see kind of the different phases of fatherhood that we all go through,
Yeah. And it's interesting to think about the kind of conversations that Judy and I are having now. Cause we're like, all right, when our youngest is when the last girl is out of the house, when Jessica's out of the house, what are we going to do? Oh, this is going to be fun. We've had fun with our kids, but now we're like, and it's because we've maintained our relationship over the years. And now we're like, all right, what do we get to do in the next phase of Jody and Judy, right? And so it really is a journey, and if you're willing to embrace and invest in the tough times as well as the
Yep.
good times, because being a dad can be tough. Being married can be tough.
Yep.
So, as you're looking where you are now, and if you were going to sit down with a new dad or, a dad that's got younger kids, because now you're moving into that middle age, what are some key things that you think are really critically important for dads to do?
Just within marriage, communication is so key. Um, just to be able to communicate with your kids once they get to that phase, obviously, is a big key. But if you're just starting out and you're a new dad, they say this, but like, don't take those little things for granted because they grow up so fast. It's just so crazy how fast they grow up. And one thing that I would say, just being a new dad is, reach out to other dads for advice, and help and support, and know that you're not alone. Once I figured out that, this is a normal thing, like sometimes kids don't sleep. I mean, once I figured out that, yeah, once I figured out that there were things that I was experiencing that I thought, oh, this is only happening to me. And once I figured out that there were other dads that went through this, I was like, oh man, that made me feel a lot better. And just, you got to give yourself a break. And by that, I mean, don't be too hard on yourself. Because when I first became a dad, I was like, man, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? And I've always said, if I'm asking all those questions, if I'm doing all of those things right, then that means I am a good father. Because there are fathers that don't ask those questions. There are fathers that don't care. I have friends whose fathers are out of their lives and they just don't care. But if you're asking those questions, am I doing this right? Is he getting enough sleep? Am I doing this? Or should I have done it differently? That shows that you're doing an awesome job. And I think sometimes as men, we are hard on ourselves a little bit because we put so much pressure on ourselves. I'm the man of the house, and yes, we are. Granted, we 100% we are, but at the same time, you also got to give yourself a break. And I also think that, just, mental health is very important, and lean on other dads. Like, when I had my first child, like, just having other dads there to support me, to say, hey, it's going to be okay. This is normal. Like, you're not experiencing anything else that I've never gone through before. Like, and it's like having friends like this, having other dads that you can talk to is so key, I think, because it does help you and it kind of strengthens you. And then you can bounce ideas off of one another, or venting. You're able to vent and say, man, this is what's going on. Like, I am struggling. Like, I can't get him to potty train, or I can't get her to do this, or, me and my wife have kind of been at it, like, just having men to talk to. And I think as men, not only do we put pressure on ourselves as dads, but we also kind of hold all that in sometimes because we're men, we're supposed to be tough.
Man up, be
But
tough.
exactly. But it's okay to be like, you know what, Jody, man, I got to be honest with you. I can't do it. Like, can you help me out? I just need to vent. That's okay. And I think when we, as fathers and even new fathers, you understand that it's okay not to be okay sometimes, because look, you're a new dad. It's
Yeah.
going to be stressful. I can't tell you that everything's going to be peaches and cream. I mean, you got 6 kids. There were probably some really stressful times.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
when we were and we were talking about earlier, like, I was stressed to the max with my first kid. And so I think, when you realize that it's okay that you're going to have those times, I think that's when it'll get a lot better, because you just kind of realize, okay, it's bound to happen. I'm going to be stressed, but make sure you have a good support system around you. This is a key thing for me. So
Yeah, I love that idea, because I think about, especially the last 10 years when we adopted. I mean, that was a big shift, right? Because we had 4 and then we adopted 2. And that was a big shift in our family, and it introduced some dynamics that I mentally wasn't prepared for. There was no way, right? And I have a really good friend, and his name's Reed Young. And every once in a while, he'll just call me out of the blue and go, Jody, you okay? I just feel like I needed to reach out to you. And inevitably it's the right time, right? And he's like, yeah. I go, hey, how about I come over and help you bend some metal? Because he's a machinist and he builds these amazing
Yeah.
metal stuff. He can build anything. Or it's like, hey, you know what? You grab your yellow Pontiac Solstice, I'll grab my Z3, and let's go drive out by Lake Lowell at,
Yeah.
speeds far too fast that we should be driving, right? And just even though we're not even in the same car, it's just being able to be together, doing the
Yeah.
same thing and have that rush and that adrenaline and just kind of, and then, step out of the car and just kind of visit. It's like, man, I tell you, this one kid's just driving me crazy. I don't know how I'm going to survive.
Yep.
So having that support group is really, really important. So.
And you mentioned adoption. That's really cool because you don't know this, but I actually am adopted.
Cool.
So yeah, so I definitely understand that. So and I think I have mad respect for anybody who adopts kids because, like I said, myself and my brother were both adopted at a very, very young age. So that is really awesome that you guys did that. That's so cool.
You know what? I actually would like to have a follow-up episode and talk about just adoption with you, right? Because I have my perspective of being a dad who's adopted.
Uh-huh.
It'd be really cool to talk to someone who's now a dad, was adopted, and how that's also been different, but also kind of your dynamic with your dad or your mom.
Yeah.
Right? I think that would be really, really cool. And I think we should save that for a second episode. I think that would be really great to see. So, man, I just really appreciate you taking the time to visit with me. Obviously, I mean, I can tell you and I can just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's because, I see the passion and love that you have for your wife, see the passion. You haven't had your kids that I've seen on TikTok, but you always in some ways, I'm like, all right, the dad journey, and you talk about lessons. I'm like, all right, so guys, you got to go check him out. It's the dad journey. It's Ben or Benjamin, laugh out, LOL.
Yep.
Go check him out. He's got a great TikTok channel, Instagram channel. And you know what? He's just like us, another dad on a journey, doing the best he can and learning and failing. Well, no, just learning in the process, because you never fail unless you're quitting, right? So just keep pushing, keep growing, push through the tough times, celebrate the fun times, and have fun as a dad, because your kids are going to remember, yes, they're going to remember what you taught them, but they're going to remember how you made them feel more than anything.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
So, well, thank you so much. Give a mad shout out to your wife. And
I will.
I guess I'll just have to connect on TikTok, and we'll have to do a round 2 of this. So.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Jody, for having me, and I really appreciate it. And it's been fun, and I'm honored that you reached out to me. And I think what you guys are doing here and what you're doing here personally, just reaching out to other dads and getting the good side of fatherhood, I think that's awesome to show people that there are awesome dads out there. There are some amazing dads, and here's the positives about being a father. And I think that's really cool. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for being my guest. And you guys that tune in every week, and ladies, because I know I got some ladies that listen in, thank you so much for joining us every week. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we will check you same time, same bat channel just next week, right here on Father's Fire. See ya!